Hello students and welcome to this video. This question is called Great Fly Airways and it is also based on, this is not a special order, but because they deliver a service, it is a special arrangement. So it reads, Great Fly Airways is an airline with an annual capacity of 90,000 passengers. Currently, they operate at a level of 80,000 passengers. So again, we can see that in delivering their service, there is some idle capacity. And then they say, under current conditions, passengers pay 3,000 Rand per ticket, and the other costs are as follows. There's a variable cost of 1,000 Rand for a passenger, and then there's a total fixed cost of 50 million. There are two options that you can choose between, and it says option number one relates to a recruitment agency. Great Fly Airways are considering entering into a contract with Tours for All. Tours for All is an agency that is able to recruit a total of 22,000 new annual passengers that will travel from Johannesburg to Cape Town. These passengers will be flown by Great Fly, but Tours for All will require an annual fee of 15 million to render the recruitment service. Passengers recruited by Tours for All will pay 2,700 Rand for a ticket. If the contract is entered into, the fixed cost will increase by 12 million. Option number two is arranging international flights. So there they say, per a special arrangement, Great Fly Airways can agree to accommodate flights from Cape Town to London. These international tickets will be sold at £200. The average rate is 18.50 Rand for a pound. A total of 12,000 international passengers will be accommodated, while the remaining capacity will be dedicated to local flights. Fixed costs will increase by 10%, while the variable cost of international flights will increase to 1,750 Rand for a passenger. Local passengers will incur the variable cost of 1,000 Rand. And the required part, they say in A, apply the necessary calculations and comment on the option that is best to enter into. Right, so let's see. The first thing we need to do is I've copied my layout already. So we need to go and determine what is the norm and then calculate option 1 and 2 and then determine if the difference is positive or negative, and of course then choose the biggest positive net difference. If I look at the norm in terms of sales, they say that they operate at a level where they have 80,000 passengers and each of them pay 3,000 Rand for a ticket. Then there's some variable costs. So these 80,000 passengers pay or require a variable cost to be incurred of 1,000 Rand each. And then the fixed cost is 50 million. So that seems to me like that is the costs that we are looking at in terms of the norm. So I'm just copying it. I'm also adding it to option number 2 because of course the norm is the norm is the norm. It doesn't change between the options. So in option number 1, we are looking at a situation where we have a recruitment agency. Going back just to make sure that we are on the same page, we have a maximum capacity of 90,000 passengers. So now we have to split it between what the recruitment people can do for us versus, I'm just going to say, our existing passengers. So if the recruitment agency is able to recruit 22,000 passengers, then I will have to say the 90,000 minus the 22,000 passengers gives us a remaining, so of the existing passengers, we will only be able to accommodate 6,800 of them. Then they say that these people pay 2,700 Rand a ticket. So here we have a situation where there's a price difference. So they pay 2,700, whereas the normal ticket price for existing passengers would be 3,000. Then something else just to be wary of is that there is a fee of 15 million and that the fixed cost will increase. So just a side note, please remember that for the fixed cost, there will be an increase of 12 million rand. Right, so let's go and see what's happening then with the first option. They don't say anything about any other changes. So for the first option, in the sales, we're going to say, well, we have the 22,000 recruited passengers who pay 2,700 Rand, and then our remaining capacity who pay 3,000 Rand is the remaining total, and I believe we said that was 68,000 existing passengers. Then we have our variable costs. So for the variable cost, we are going to be at full capacity and there is no discrimination in the variable cost. It doesn't matter whether the person is recruited or existing, the variable cost is 8,000 Rand. Then there is a change in the fixed cost. So currently it's 50 million. And we are told that it needs to be increased by 12 million. Then there is also a recruitment fee for the agency. So I'm going to say agency fee. Under normal circumstances, that's not something that we have. But the agency will ask us 15 million. Right, so we can go and calculate the difference there. So obviously you can see between the norm and option 1, there is an increase in the sales. So we need to calculate the difference and it will be positive because we make more sales. So it seems like 23,400,000 Rand difference. Then for the variable cost, there is an increase as well. So the cost will lessen our cash flow, the increase in cost. So that I am going to write the difference as a negative because it has a negative impact on my cash flow. The fixed cost will also have a negative impact on my cash flow. So again, I'm going to put the 12 million as a negative. And then also the 15 million agency fee is an outflow of money. So if I look at the net difference here, we are actually running at a loss. So this seems to be like it's not a good option. Let's calculate then option number 2 and see if that might provide us with a better difference. So in option number 2, we are told that we are faced with international flights and that they can have international tickets that are sold. And 12,000 international passengers will be accommodated and the remaining capacity will be local. So again, just to make sure that we are on the same page, we need to take into account that there is a total space of 90,000 passengers available. Some of them will be local and some of them will be foreign. So for the foreign, they tell us that we can accommodate 12,000 of them. So if I take the difference, the 90,000 minus the 12,000, it seems to me like for local, we have 78,000 passengers or space for passengers left. Then there's a few things to pay attention to, like they will be sold for £200. So we need to remember that we have to take the £200 and we have to convert it to Rand, and they say it's 18 Rand 50. So if I times the 200 Rand by 18 Rand 50, I get 3,700 Rand. So the foreigners will pay 3,700 Rand and the remaining locals will still pay the fee that we charge, which is 3,000. Right, then there is also some changes. They say that the fixed cost, so I like to read this and just make notes for myself, as you can observe, because once you read it, it might seem quite complex, but once you put everything together, then the calculations are really simple just to put into your layout or your format. So for the fixed cost, they say it will increase by 10%. So it's plus 10%. And then just get another color. And then they say the variable cost for the international flights will be 1,750, whereas for the locals, the variable cost was 1,000 Rand. So there's our variable cost, and there's basically the selling price of a ticket. Right, so that's it. After doing these calculations, we can now go back and see what is the sales and the variable cost, etc., and what are the differences. So taking this into account, we're going to say, all right, for our sales, we're going to have 8,000 passengers, and they are going to pay 3,000 Rand. And then for the additional 12,000 passengers who are now will fly to the foreign country, we're going to charge them 3,700 Rand. Then for the variable cost, we know there's also a difference. So our locals are paying 1,000 Rand, or we are paying 1,000 Rand to accommodate them. But for the 22 or the 12,000, I beg your pardon, for the 12,000, we are going to pay 1,750. Then the fixed cost needs to be increased by 10%, so it's going to be the 50 million times 1.1. And then that seems like all the calculations that needed to be done. So there was a change in the fixed cost, there was a change in the variable cost. We accommodated all of it, so let's see. There's definitely going to be an increase in my cash flow for sales. Then I am going to have an outflow of money for the variable cost. And I am also going to have an outflow of money to accommodate the increase in the fixed cost. So if I look at the difference here, I get 1,400,000 or 14,400,000 Rand. So clearly we can see, I just want to make sure I did type 1, 2, 3 enough zeros here. Yes, there's 50 million, 12, 1, 2, 3 million. Always have to check the zeros. It's so easy to make a mistake. So the first option will lead us to incur a loss, while the second option will have us make a 14 million Rand positive cash inflow. So obviously I'm going to say we need to opt for the option number 2, because it results in a positive cash flow increase of 14,400. All right. So there we go. I just wanted to quickly run through that question. I think it's pretty interesting, especially in terms of making sure that you split it correctly for both option 1 and option 2, and that one can never exceed the 990,000 maximum capacity. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed it, and then I will see you in the next video. Keep well until then.